Good morning, everyone, and good day and good evening, depending on where you're based in the world. I'm happy to welcome you today on the A4Q World Congress. Today we have the GeoSTQB panel discussion, and I'm happy to hand over to Nadia and GeoSTQB team presenting their panel discussion.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nadia Silviladze. I am CEO of Exact Systems Georgia and co-founder and president of GeoSTQB. With my colleagues today, we will have panel discussions about challenging quality engineering practices. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Couple of words before we will dive into challenges, of course. I would like to speak a little bit about GeoSTQB, who we are. We are official representative national board of ISTQB in Georgia since 2019. And as other national member boards of ISTQB, we have the similar missions like increasing awareness of ISTQB among software testers and companies, promoting profession of software tester itself. We do support certification of IT professionals in Georgia, of course, according to ISTQB standards, organizing several different activities, again, about software testing, and of course, administrating accreditation of training providers and supporting to have more trainings about software testing on local market that is needed right now. And finally, we do cooperate with universities and support to have the proper study programs there. Era of technology is growing much faster than we could imagine. Innovations and new trends require proper attention and responsibility in order to deliver proper quality products on the market. Nowadays, there are several non-standard and challenging cases all over the world connected to quality assurance and more precisely test automation. Some of them may directly be connected to technical aspects, some of them not at all. Today, during this session, our speakers will try to discuss some aspects and challenges connected to this area. So let me introduce our speakers. Papuna Gavnitsa, QAOps DevOps engineer at TopTol and co-founder and partner at GeoSTQB. Becca Sazuashvili, quality assurance team lead at Optimo and head of innovations board of GeoSTQB. David Anelia, test automation chapter lead at TBC Bank and innovation board member at GeoSTQB. And Becca Rogava, QA automation lead at tvmucho.com. Feel free to write questions here during panel discussions. We will try to answer them after all the panel discussions. We will have this Q&A session, and we will try to cover all the questions. Using various applications and services via verification of biometrics parameters was highly important even earlier, since smart devices started supporting these features. But during the pandemic period, setting and using proper authentication is highly critical, as lots of digital products started to appear on the market and are using these features. We do use biometric parameters on our smart devices on a daily basis, in even more, like a dozen of times per day. Now I would like to move to Becca Sazuashvili's side. And Becca, what challenges we may come across while testing functionalities connected with biometric parameters?
Hello, everyone. Hi, Natia. First of all, let me introduce myself and then answer to your question. I'm Becca Sazuashvili, automation engineer at Digital Area. I work at various systems such as banking, e-commerce, inventory management, and optimization with mobile and desktop applications. Now I will answer to your questions. The challenges of this automation with biometric parameters are always relevant for this question. which is often asked from a QA automation team. How much does it cost to automate? Let's explain first what is device biometric parameters and then move on to the implementing its automation. Uh, a biometric device is a secure identification and authentication device. Such devices are automated methods of verifying, recognizing the identity of a living person based on a physiological and behavioral characteristics. Basic characteristics include fingerprints, facial images, iris, voice recognition, and face recognition. Face recognition and fingerprints has become especially popular in the recent years.
Becca, I would be interested to know what are the challenges connected to iOS and Android devices?
Okay, let's talk about these two parameters of authentication in these two most popular operating system, Android and iOS. Um, let's dive into the overall architecture of iOS biometric to authentication from a really high level. You will see that it's depending on your model of your devices. It's going to either fingerprint scanner, sensor, or tips camera, which there's a biometric hardware sensors, accurate inputs from users' data. Then there is operating system in case iOS, which manage how the application interact with users' biometric inputs via iOS framework or which we call as known Xcode environment. At least, but not, at last, but not at least. So this is very important component in the iOS biometric process. It is on a microchip, which device called secure enclave processor. This processor is totally isolated from iOS, and it has own operating system which runs on kernel. It stores in more sensitive keys like raw data and biometric data, and the iOS operating system cannot access to this data directly. That's interesting uh, that could not have even great business model that we could launch on near future. In meanwhile, we just going to offer more developer first solution, which means library or SDK, which developer can easily swap in mock framework and facilitates to the automatic gratefully in the software layer, which any physically uh, intervention. As you can see, it's so challenging to automate biometric in iOS process. Here's another issues with automatic biometric tests on Android. The obvious problem is that it's quite important to interact with sidestep the biometric prompt of the test flow without physical intervention, because it's not true even possible to programmably influence with a secure processor which stores a raw fingerprint data or fingerprint scanner parameters. Let's dive into the more highly level flow of biometric process in Android. It usually starts either a full view activity or a dialogue components in UI, such as usually it's triggered by some kind of actions like a tapping on button or changing the sides. And then it runs fingerprint managers to implicitly talk to the fingerprints service, which runs in background. Then this service will communicate to your fingerprint hardware. It's such as complicated work. Um, I can see the programmably when UI is loaded, it's going to enter obtains the fingerprint manager, or it's going to ask the readiness of fingerprint manager. Afterward, when you call authenticate method, on the instant of fingerprint manager, they pass along relevant parameters like a crypto object or maybe something that call back object and will implicitly talk to fingerprint service. And then the service will ask to fingerprint scanner to warm it up more. That means that scanner will going to pull your user's fingerprint data. Now, it's not specifying for this library, just for this version of the ones that support the fingerprint feature. And then secondly, to test device should have validated fingerprint. That means that uh, mm, you that means that to authenticate you need your fingerprint at least, but not at last. It's going say without do not distribute your test build in the web. You can you run risk somebody to hijacking your user's biometric by using external connections. So I recommend just build, say, the biometric tests on just highly secure devices. The challenges that accompany the automation of, say, the two systems are quite complex, and we can never get rid of bugs caused by malfunctioning iOS and Android. In addition to the fact of biometric parameters we discuss are direct physical link between humans and devices.
Thank you, Becca. It was really interesting. I would like to ask you, like, since COVID-19 has made impact on all directions, do we have any challenges in this direction too?
Yes, after pandemic, we have a lot of challenges. Since we are talking about biometric searching, we cannot mention that in many applications, verification is required with a identity document, such as ID card, passport, driver license, or etc. Regulations related of COVID-19 necessarily changes make it increasingly in demand to provide services remotely that we can not implement before the pandemic. That's why it's become so popular through verification with biometric parameters, which is additional data protection, provides more comfort and time saved for user. To consider standard flow is a similar type of applications. You need to first scan your passport, then take a selfie to match selfie photo with one in the passport. When we discuss automated this, we encounter several problems. These types of tests may work just pre-allocated parameters in the test environment, but it almost impossible to implement in the production. And here we and here is again the question: how necessary is to automate this testing flow, which could be only run as a regression test just on test environment. Usually, user goes to throw this flow just once, and every such task by the business should be considered as non-automated cases, and there could be such cases cannot fully automated by QA engineer.
Thank you, Becca, very much. The topic and the area is highly important and interesting for now. Taking care of people with disabilities, even from technology side, is highly important. How often do we think about automation of some specific features which people with disabilities will use? And I guess another interesting side maybe that how can we control the quality of such products? David. what can be a solution for testing such functionalities? Can be a solution for testing the product which should be used by people with disabilities?
Okay, hello. As was already mentioned, I'm David Danelia. I'm test automation engineer and test automation chapter lead in TBC Bank. Now about the question. Today we live in an environment when disabilities is not an obstacle to normal life. Every fifth person has some type of disability, so it's very important to consider them when developing or testing software. Most accessibility tests today are done manually or not at all. Accessibility tests not part of the life cycle of the testing life cycle, and it usually is not automated, but it should be. Accessibility needs to be embedded right from the beginning of development, like the other types of the testing. Uh, by shifting left, you can identify accessibility defects when they're less expensive to fix. Once an accessibility defect in the production, the cost will fix. The cost to fix it can be 100% higher than when it's addressed in design. Many companies use automation to test complex functionality, and most of them understand the importance of accessibility automation testing. Um, Before moving on the specific technologies of testing cases, I want to give an example of on how technology helps people with disabilities. The well-known Amazon Alexa or Siri, it is used not only to listen music or get the weather, but also more serious activities such as if we don't hear something on the phone, Alexa can repeat it louder, create to-do list for a specific day, ask about the effect of the medication, or even set alarm clock to drink a particular medicine. Control the temperature of the house, turn on or turn off the lights, or even open the front door and make coffee. This is a function that many use, and it must work flawlessly. When we are writing automated accessibility test script for websites, website testing for accessibility should evaluate each of six CDC disabilities category. Mobility. How will those with mobility challenge access your website? As noted by Carl Glow, founder of the Tenon.io web accessibility platform, there's the simple starter test. Um, it is unplug your mouse and can you interact with all controls of your website? Can you see which controls are currently active? And do command orders make sense? If the answer is no, that means that you need to improve keyboard support. Cognition. How complex are the forms and menus on your website? Are they contextually relevant and easy to identify for those with cognitive difficulties? Does each form field indicate exactly what they require from users? If you have form requirement hidden in the field boxes, consider moving them outside. Um, the next one is hearing. If your site has multiple videos or sound clips, do you have option for those who are hearing impaired? This includes closing captioning for videos and transcript for podcasts, product descriptions, or other media, audio media. The next one is vision. Um, on the flip side, does your site supports audio description and includes context first text that makes it easy for impaired visitors using text-to-voice software to quickly find what they need? Independent living, easy of use in paramount here. Users with independent living challenges are often able to take on increasingly complex tasks as long as they include simple and straightforward steps. This is why streamlined site design make it easier for those visitors to find what they are really looking for. Self-care. Many of those who struggle with self-care due to physical or cognitive disabilities still poses remarkable mental prowess. Here, easy scalable text and image element can save this user needless uh, frustration. Okay, I will give a little simple real example when automation helps us envision disabilities feature testing. You have probably noticed a Skype icon indicating whether you are online, out, or busy. You will notice that each similar icon not only differs in color but also in the shape, text, or small sketch inside. All this is done to make it easier for daltonic people to navigate inside the app. And the similar functionality should work as flawlessly as possible. For that, we are writing scripts that are checking those buttons for all criteria automatically in regression mode. There are many software standards like WCAG, which we must obey to have the high quality product for all these people.
David, thank you. And what are the frameworks which you would like to recommend for automation functionalities for people with disabilities?
Okay. First of all, there are many frameworks or tools on the market today that help us to provide all kind of standard checks in accessibility test automation. So I want to introduce some of them for you. Okay, first is the Tenaguru. Tenaguru is an automation accessibility testing tool which emphasizes on reliability and automation. Tenaguru has an open source AGPL license option and the paying option for the more features. It is dedicated at accessibility audits and focus on reliability and high level of automation. The next one is Axe Selenium Java. Axe Selenium Java is for Java testers that want to expand their test suites with accessibility tests. Axe offers an ability to perform web accessibility testing with JUnit and Selenium. Axe WebDriver JS. Axe WebDriver JS is exactly the same as the Selenium Java, but it's provide JavaScript test automation. It's provided for JavaScript test automation engineers with a chainable Axe API for Selenium WebDriver JS and automatically injects into all frames. The next one is Protractor Accessibility Plugin. Protractor has an accessibility plugin that will run each set of audits depending on your configuration on your existing end-to-end tests to ensure your site is free of obvious errors. The creator of this plugin, Marcy Sutton, has written a post on how and why she created the Protractor Accessibility plugin, among with some examples of how to use it for auditing Selenium WebDriver element object. The next one is Tenon.io. Tenon.io is an API that can add accessibility tests into pretty much any automation framework you might already be using. And Tenon was also designed to test against WCAG. The next one is PA11Y. PA11Y has a bunch of tools that you can use to help automate your accessibility tests. They have a command line interface, a browser-based dashboard for monitoring your accessibility, and the web service, and even a tool that integrates with your CI tools. Now I want to also tell you about the Apple's accessibility APIs. So if you are testing iOS applications, there are some accessibility APIs like VoiceOver that you can use in your script to help test accessibility. Leveraging those APIs will not only make your test easier, but also will have to, have to add benefits to improve your experience, your user experience. The next one is Google's accessibility test framework for Android. Google's accessibility test framework, GATF, has test logic that can detect a bunch of common accessibility issues. It makes use of existing Android UI construct. It is easy integrated with all over other things and frameworks. For example, you can access gatekeeping functionality in Espresso by adding accessibility check dot enable. Okay, and the last one is Color Oracle. Color Oracle is a free color blindness simulator for Windows, Mac, and Linux. It takes the guesswork out of designing for color blindness by showing a real time what people with common color vision impairments will see. So yeah, in software engineering, accessibility testing helps in making your application disabled friendly. If following accessibility guidelines is not possible due of complexity of your web application, you must build one version of the website for the regular users and the other for disabled.
Thank you, David. The area of grid functionalities for the people with disabilities is important. Nowadays, the world is getting more digitized, especially since COVID-19, and demand on real-time based applications has increased. Therefore, testing such applications and providing them to users with reliability and confidence has become a challenge. Now I would like to move to Becca Vava's side. Would you like to share with us the challenges that take place connected with the testing real-time based applications?
Hello everyone. Hello Natia. My name is Pekka Rukawa. Interesting topic, Natia, and let me share my insights about that. So first two main functionalities for that will be with high priority camera and microphone checking, like as they are most important for communication. So most of the real applications nowadays, when you're trying to log into the meeting, they ask you to verify camera or microphone. So in case of camera automation, you may use DOM elements to, let's say, click or unclick on the camera on/off button, and there will be with high possibility some attribute values changing, and then you can assert them against each other. And that's the one way will be one solution for, let's say, camera verification. Another one probably is to use Google Chrome option called use fake media stream. And in this, if you use this flag for Chrome options, then it will assume that camera is on and basically it will verify it. Microphone verification will be challenging, as you need to send voice to the web in order the microphone to get reacts to it. So for this, most probably will be needed to use Arcula Graphene extension, which is capable of sending voice to the web. And before sending some voices to the web app, first of all, you of course need to make sure that and verify that your microphone is on. Again, you can use DOM elements for that verification. And after sending the voice message to the web application, different applications have different UI affections on the voice. Some of them, like microphone, is changing colors, or some microphone part is going high or low. And using that simulation, you can take also some attribute values that will be changing, and you can verify them against each other, like in the microphone case, camera case. Sorry.
Thank you, Becca. What about the chats? How we may automate it?
Chat functionality also is very important, as people spend really lots of times in nowadays on the meetings and sharing some kind of confidential or non-confidential information while meeting is essential. Most real-time applications offer two types of functionalities for chat. Some of them may not even. So it's gonna be public functionality and private functionality. To make it work and verify public functionality, let's say you're gonna need an user A who is who is sending the message to all the users, and then verification through the chat, and you're gonna need, let's say, 2 or 3 instances of a browser in order to make new users, and you need to send some kind of data, some message data to them, and according to the sender name and message value itself, and also you need to verify that the message was sent in the public functionality, not in the private one. In case of private, you need to basically setup will be the same. You're gonna need 2 or 3 instances or even more, and you may send some kind of different messages to different persons, and then you verify them one by one, and also you need to verify that it's I mean the messages sent to the private persons is not appearing in the public chat functionalities.
Privacy has important role, especially also in this area. Like, so what about the challenges connected with privacy?
Well, privacy, of course, it's an interesting topic. And to check privacy and verify it is also essential. And as accidentally whoever or some uninvited people may get your link, your call link for whatever reasons, it doesn't really matter. And some applications, let's say Google Meet or Zoom or whatever, they handle it differently. Some of them may ask you to generate password while you are registering the meeting or creating meeting link, and or you can add password by yourself and share it to whoever you want it to. Or some of them may require some kind of email lists who can attend this meeting or who cannot. Also, the admin user who is holding, let's say, the application, the meeting may have to grant access to some kind of other users and or may not. So checking these kind of functionalities and automating them will be an essential part. Also, in case of password verification will be a bit tricky in case that, in sense that you need, again, a couple of instances of browsers, and then you need to share them through them, and also you need to verify if they log in correctly to the meeting or not. And it will be also nice to check the password validation and to send, let's say, to one user some incorrect password and to verify that it's not able to log into the application. Also, I can say a couple of honorable mentions, kind of, which will be useful to verify in these real-time applications. Such would be hand raising, also mute unmute, microphone disable enable functionality. This will be very hand-on experience if let's say teacher is holding some kind of school meeting with elementary school kids. Also renaming access for renaming users who are on the call will be quite an important task, and other major and all around spread functionalities like cross-browser testing and using them for different device compatibility, it will be nice to automate.
Thank you, Becca. Several applications use location-based services nowadays. Speaking about our smartphones, GPS technology tracks a person's location. Based on this information, several applications may use for marketing and advertising purposes or navigation purposes, etc., and so on. Babuna, would be interesting if you can share with us what challenges do we have in automation of location-based applications?
Hey everyone, thanks for good question, Natia. Let me give you a brief introduction why location-based applications are important right now. During COVID-19 pandemic, online shopping or delivery applications became more crucial for safety reasons. As we know, our available online stores are restaurants depends on the location currently we are. This is where geolocation testing comes very handy, as it helps in testing the experience of the website or application depending on the user's location. When it comes to testing location based on applications, they are especially hard because traditionally you have to go out and actually walk or drive. It gets even harder if you're in a big city. There might be traffic jams where you can be easily spending all day or several days in a week to test new features or reverse test old features, which slows down the product release cycle process even more. I have good news though. There are some ways to simulate location on browsers and mobile devices. We have mainly two options for that: static and dynamic location. Static location means when you just need one specific location at a time to check the application behavior based on that. For example, if the list of addresses is updated accordingly or map is changed properly. On the contrary, dynamic location allows us to simulate driving experience. So the device needs to be using different coordinates in some time frame.
Thank you, Babuna. Based on all this information that you shared, it will be interesting to share the practical case study from your own experience.
Sure. Let's separate those case studies and use cases into static and dynamic locations. Let me give you an example for each option. One example for using static location is a banking application that updates the ATM address list based on where you are. When you are in a new place, this feature will tell you the closest ATM to use. In this case, static location is useful for both testing browsers and mobile devices. In order to update coordinates in Chrome browser, we can use Chrome Dev protocol, which is already part of Selenium and other modern frameworks such as Cypress and Puppeteer. In the Chrome Dev protocol command, we can override the existing geolocation by passing longitude, latitude, and accuracy, which will trick browsers into another location, and then we can easily check the predefined addresses are present on the UI based on the location we set. If we want to update coordinates on Android emulator, we can use ADB protocol. We can connect to the emulator in the command line and update the geolocation by passing longitude and latitude. An example for using dynamic location is ride-sharing or group riding applications. For example, Uber. The issue with testing similar applications is that route logic change or regression test cycle requires going outside and riding especially problematic routes, for example, routes with roundabouts, over and under bridges, anything that can create confusion for the application. Solution is that we can record all the necessary routes in an external file using path recorders, which will contain longitude, latitude, time, and direction. Then we can save those pre-recorded routes in the application's source code assets. Then if we build for test environments, for example, the application will select a pre-recorded route file as a location provider. Otherwise, location provider will be GPS for production builds, obviously. At this moment, we can already check the driving experience when the device actually sits on top of the task, which on its own already simplifies the manual testing process. On top of that, we can also write end-to-end tests, which will run the prerecorded routes, and check the UI events that can be triggered during the routes based on the application logic. For example, recalculation events, when you don't follow the recommended path, and path logic recalculates the route to get you to the finish location. There can also be direction indications, finish events, and so on. This is also a good example when, in order to automate some features, we need help from developers. Instead of saying that something cannot be automated, we can always work together with developers to set up a proper architecture for end-to-end testing. In my experience, I had a lot of such cases when I had to work with developers to expose some API or modify UI features so that I could manage application state and the data from the test itself, which results in more stable tests. Finally, with the mentioned setup, either for static or dynamic location, we can easily run those tests in the CI/CD and share the results with the team more effectively, which otherwise would have been impossible. With custom location features, we can also avoid an issue when, for example, we run in the CI/CD using cloud device firms. Those device firms can be using like different regions, and our tests can be optimized for our local regions. So using these custom locations, we can, before test run, we can update the location that we want to use for the test and then continue testing on the device firm. Using all of the techniques I discussed, we can save a lot of resources and time, and also remove additional overhead of going outside and driving and walking and running in the streets. And obviously, it will make the release cycle even faster.
Thank you, Babuna, very much for your insights. And I think we are going to the last part, that if you need any our further assistance or you need any contact, any questions that you would like to discuss, here are our contacts via LinkedIn or Facebook. Feel free to contact us. Before moving on the last part of Q&A session, I would like to thank for Alliance for Qualification, and special thanks to Gus for enormous support in providing us this opportunity. And thank you for your attention, for attending this session. And now we are ready to listen and answer the questions.
Thank you. That was very interesting. And I saw already that a huge audience was listening to the session. And we did receive questions. So I would just start to share the questions, and then you could answer directly. So this question was asked right in the beginning, after 10 minutes. So Maxime was asking, maybe you can like answer him.
Hello, Maxime. I can answer him. Yes, you can emulate with Android Studio, but first of all, you need to verify your fingerprint or raw data. So you need to first of all use this data. You should validate your fingerprint, or you can also use frameworks like Appium, or just driver.fingerprint. It's kind of function, or you can use it.
Thank you. We did receive more questions. So Tamar was asking about the biometric features. Maybe you can help her with answering her question.
I can answer her too. Okay, it's yes, it's of course quite a big challenge to maintain each update, because it's difficult to predict in advance what kind of changes should be on these systems. For example, in iOS case, that is structural changes when they remove fingerprint and edit the Face ID, and the test is in the tests which were written by QA team was totally useless for this case. So it's kind of big challenge to maintain it.
Okay, we did receive another question from her. Could you maybe say something about this question as well?
It's real-time applications. I'm not using it. David, maybe you can answer to Tamar.
Okay, thanks for question. How they parent people is the okay, so there is many license that shows that this application is the disabled friendly, if I can say that. So you can okay, so they know that it's inclusive by checking those license. Like if it's the big application, you know that they are using those licenses for the quality. But you can check it manually. Like if you see buttons, you can also see the text near the buttons, or the color, or the other design solutions for those people. Like you can understand that this application is the friendly.
Okay, thank you. We did receive feedback already that this topic was very relevant and very useful for many of the audience. And now I take the chance to thank you for the presentation and for joining us on the A4Q World Congress. We would be happy if you would come to the virtual Congress Hall, and you can connect with other peoples there and network, and maybe you can discuss this topic further. So be welcome to join us at the Virtual Congress Hall. You can find the link to enter the Virtual Congress Hall directly on our website. So it would be good to see you there. So I will be there later too, and maybe I can chat with you after that as well. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for sharing this interesting topic and presentation. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.